In this video, we are going to look at physical and chemical properties of matter and elements. Start with our objectives. I can identify physical and chemical properties of matter. I can differentiate between physical properties that depend on the amount of matter and those that don't. So let's start off with what is a physical property. A physical property is a property that can be observed without changing the identity of the substance. So in other words, we can measure it, we can record it without changing what the element or substance actually is. Think about if you took a piece of paper and you crumple it up, you would still have paper. Physical properties are always the same. It doesn't matter how much of the substance there is. So if it is green and you have a pound of it, it's still going to be green even if you have 10 pounds of it. The only physical properties that do depend on how much there is are, of course, mass and volume. Those will change if you increase or decrease the amount of the substance. What are some physical properties? Conductivity, which means how well is something able to conduct electricity. Luster, how much shine it has. Malleability, can it be hammered into a thin sheet? And related to that is ductility, can it be stretched into a wire? Solubility, can it dissolve in a liquid? Specific heat, which is the amount of heat needed to raise the temperature of that substance by 1 degree. The melting point or the boiling point of the substance, its magnetism, its density, and its odor. All of those are physical properties. We can look at them and the substance doesn't change based on those properties. A chemical property is something that can be observed only by changing the identity of the substance. So back to our paper example, if we crumpled it, that's a physical change, but we could describe it as being flat. The shape of it is a physical property. Whereas if we burned it, which is known as its flammability, that would be a chemical change because we have changed the substance. Whether something can rust, that changes the substance, and so that's a chemical property. And then whether it reacts with other substances. All of these examples are only measurable if we actually change the substance to see if those things happen. So after this, we are going to look at physical and chemical changes that we can perform to substances. But physical and chemical properties are extremely important in classifying and identifying substances. By knowing some of the physical properties of a substance, we might be able to identify unknown elements. So, for instance, if I were given an unknown substance and I calculated its density, melting point, and looked at its luster, I could use that information to figure out what element that is, because each element has its own unique set of physical properties. These are going to be important later when we look at physical and chemical changes.